Hey there, it's Jose, and in this video I'm going to be working on some acrylic painting. I will be painting Alebrije Dante from the Disney Pixar movie Coco. I am painting this because I went out and I have invested over the last couple of months, little by little. I got myself some neon and fluorescent paint that are reactive to black light. So, my idea was to paint him in all his full glory as an alebrije and have it be where he will be glowing according to his colorations while using this paint whenever you expose the painting to a black light. So, I'm going to go ahead and get started. A couple of things about this. I don't have purple, but I did some tests, and also I didn't have orange, but I have it now over here. But I did some tests over here. Obviously, that's a very kind of ugly muted purple, but that's the best I can do because I haven't been able to find purple, and I didn't want to spend like $20 for a little bottle online. But I got my black light here, and I'm going to turn this big light off. Excuse my arm for a second. Oh, that's maybe too much. But as you can see, this purple right here, it is reacting to the black light. So I'm going to be using the blue and red to make the purple that I need. And here we go, that's better. I'm like, why is it not showing? Well, it's because the metal's reflecting the light, but you can see it does work that way, which was one of the things I wanted to find out, see if I was able to blend the colors in a way where I was able to do some shading by just using different colors, and it seems like I will be able to. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, here we go, starting with the background. I wanted to do some blue tones, some just kind of sky blue gradients in the background with some purples here and there to add some more dimension and darkness to the background. Obviously, I do want some colorfulness in the background, but not too much color because we want the colors of Dante to stand out more than the background. So I'm going through and just kind of getting all the little details. I'm using a bigger brush because since it's acrylic, you kind of can cover up most of the background, so I usually do the backgrounds first just because once you do the foreground object, it's easier to cover it up. I do go ahead and add a little bit of the white UV paint that I show in the beginning, and that I'm going to be using just to give the background a little bit of a glow. But I wasn't too happy how this came out because some of the areas it kind of picked up the color too much of the background. It kind of lifted the blue in the background, and it was very splashy when you use the UV light on it, so I kind of had to mute that down a little bit. Here it is dry. Now we're going through and adding some of the UV light paint straight on the white canvas, and that was my first mistake. Obviously, it's my first time using this paint, so two problems that I encountered. The paint has a horrible amount of coverage, and also it is very streaky, obviously, due to the coverage. But once you try to blend the colors together like I did initially, it just gets a little muddy and a little bit muted, and obviously we want it to be quite nice and bright. So if I was to do this project again or something similar to it, I will go through and paint it regularly with just regular acrylic colors, and then go after we do that, go over the colors with the UV light paint. I started like this, so I kind of kept going with it, so I had to do multiple layers of this. Some colors did pretty okay, like the orange, the yellow, and the red did pretty good, kind of being near each other and not getting muddy when they got a little bit blended. But other colors like the greens and the blues did just kind of, it still reacted somewhat to the UV light, but it muted the colors aggressively. So going through again, trying to make some lighter colors, some darker colors to give it some more dimension, because obviously, although it is a cartoony character that comes from a 3D animated movie, being that it's a 3D animated movie, it does have a lot of dimension, the way that it reacts to the light and how the shadows behave with the three-dimensional object. So again, that was a struggle with these paints. I do end up going back, and right now I have gotten some regular acrylic paint and I'm covering some areas. And the more I went on, I realized that having all of him glow in the dark with the UV light might be too much. So I'm going through and filling some areas with regular acrylic paint because one, it will give me the coverage that I need so that the canvas underneath the paint doesn't show through, and also it will allow me to have certain areas glow in the dark under the UV light and some not, which will give it more of a dynamic, more interesting experience when I use the UV light on top of the painting. So I'm going through adding a bunch of dots. There are so many dots, so many little lines, so many different colorations, but again, that's what makes Alebrijes very interesting and very catching to the eye. It's just the heavy amount of small details added on with complementary colors, with colors that work well together, colors that catch your eye, just different designs and different shapes and colors that are not really there naturally or might not make complete sense how things are broken up, but it ends up making this very dynamic and beautiful art piece. Here I am trying to make some colors, going back to the greens. Again, I think that the color I was the happiest with was the orange and the yellow. The green was a little bit of a struggle. Again, I just couldn't get the right tones. Like the tongue is more of a teal color, but if I blend in some of the white, it just gets rid of the glow completely. If I have some of the blue, it just gets darker and muddy. So the tongue is what I'm most disappointed in, that I couldn't get the right coloration, but everything else I can kind of cheat it a little bit. Obviously the colors are not perfectly matched just because in a digital world with shading and still being able to process the glowing effects on it versus using paint, it's obviously very different. But yeah, I did enjoy doing all the little details. I have played with the idea of trying to do some wood carving, just because, as you've probably seen from my channel, I like to experiment a lot with different methods of art, and I've always thought that if I did do something simple wood carving wise, a way to enhance it would be to paint like an alebrije, just because you're able to get away with simpler shapes, which obviously being a beginner at wood carving, I would only be comfortable doing simpler shapes, but you can elevate it by using the bright, beautiful colors, the amazing amount of details that you'll find on traditional alebrijes that are done with the paint. A lot of little dots, a lot of little things here and there that aren't that noticeable at first, but as you build up the colors and you do the little dots inside of dots inside of dots, it just catches your eye greatly. In retrospect, I do feel that if I were to recreate this piece, I would not focus so much on the glow in the dark or the UV element as much as I will try to get a lot more shading, a lot better shape representation through shadowing and highlights that I wasn't able to do with this paint. So I feel that I will really bring down a lot of the elements that are the neon paints and just have those be very meticulous placed in certain areas versus, again, like I said, most of it, if not the whole character glowing under the light. But overall, I think obviously I do feel it looks a little bit better under the UV light, but I still feel like it looks decent enough, just because, just like I said, with a simple wood carving, the colors, the brightness, the details, the patterns kind of do a lot of work into making all the shapes identifiable and different, and kind of having your eye be able to distinguish between the legs, the body, the wings, versus if it didn't have those patterns, it will look like a very, very, very flat, unfinished painting. And as far as the background, I do feel that maybe if I went with something a little bit darker, almost either brown or black, although it's not representative of the movie itself, because the movie is so bright in so many different areas, I do feel like it would have made the colors stand out a lot more. As you can see with like the right ear and the left back leg and part of the wing with the purple and the blues are very similar to the colors of the background, so it kind of does make that blend in a little bit more than I would like. But at this point, at the background's done, I wasn't going to do it all over again. Again, a very important learning process, trying new techniques, new art styles, new mediums. So here I'm just putting in the last couple of details, the little whiskers and stuff, and I feel like this is reaching the end of being finished. No, I was joking. A couple more things, and here we go. So here it is under the UV light. It was a little difficult trying to get this capture in the camera. I kind of had to diffuse the light a little bit and hold it far away so it wasn't just overly reflecting from the painting. But as you can see, a lot of it glows beautifully, some of it doesn't, but overall I'm pretty happy. Again, I feel like the tongue is the biggest regret, but let me know what you guys think. Thank you. Bye. Thanks for watching my video. Make sure to like it, leave a comment below, and for more art related videos, go to my channel and subscribe.